taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything.
What's up, wrestling card collectors? Welcome to another edition of WTCtv. I don't even need to introduce you at all, man. People just see you, they hear you, they know exactly who you are. But it has been a long time since you've been on. Mr. Zhan Mourning, how are you?
Howdy. It's been. I don't even know what to do on WTC anymore. It seems like it's been so long, and you've had so many new guests coming along, and a lot of new subscribers I've seen. So happy to be back on. Love it. Yeah,
it's been. I did my homework on this. It's like that. It's been over a year since I've had you on as a guest. As a matter of fact, May 10th of last year was the last time you were on.
What did we even talk about? I don't even remember. There's so much that's happened in a year.
Funny that you mentioned that because nice segue. Because we last discussed the rise of new content on the subject of wrestling trading cards. We had, it was the last time we actually spoke when I had you on an episode here. We talked about people putting out new content,
and we've seen some.
We have.
Caleb's most notable. He's the first guy that I saw that was like picking up the ball and running with it. And then we've seen some other guys doing some social media content, quick videos there, some TikTok stuff. And then we've seen a little bit more on YouTube, but we still need more. So if you're listening out there watching, please go start producing wrestling card content of any kind.
Well, that leads me here to my question here with you. It's like, how has the last year been in terms of new content for you? Do you feel like it's been good? It's been bad? Not enough? Just the right amount? But you kind of already said that not enough.
Not enough. Everything, and I don't want to sit here and say bad. Because everybody out there, and there's only a few of us out there doing wrestling card content. Everybody's got a different flavor, so I can't say anything's bad. I don't ever look at anything. I mean, it would like from a quality perspective, as far as like audio, video, written word, whatever it is, it's got to be so bad that I physically can't listen to it or view it for me to say that it's bad. But from a content perspective, like what are these guys or girls putting out there that some people aren't necessarily doing or thinking about? So I'm sure I'm going to forget some people, but as I said, Caleb he's got this niche of indie cards, which we've seen explode more recently.
Yep.
A lot more. It's just continually gaining popularity over the years. The more sets that come out, the more people start getting into wrestling cards. So we needed a content creator to specifically dive into that. And that's what Caleb's doing. And there's some people
doing an amazing job at it too, by the way. I love this. I love it.
And there's some people that have kind of riding his coattails, so to speak, but they're doing it like on social platforms. So they're not really doing audio or video, but they're more doing like statistics on card, like how many are printed, where did this come from? I can prove that I got it. The stuff that we talk about a lot. Sure. But I still say that social media is a form of content creation if you're doing it right. But then you've got like Collector WrestlePalooza.
Yeah,
Tom, he's kind of all over the place. A little bit of investment talk. Him and Wax Pac Man are doing like VHS stuff now, which is it's something that I've kind of dabbled with, and I know me and you have talked offline about it in the past. But it's interesting to hear their philosophy on things and just thinking about why they're doing it, what they're doing, and where they see it going. So just because it's not wrestling cards, I still count it as a content creation because it is still a wrestling collectible that is not just wrestling figures that we've seen a million times. And who else is out there that I'm forgetting? I know we've Card Foundation, of course, and we've seen some other ones in the past. Like I think we're probably right around the time we talked last time. There was a few of them popping up, and then they just kind of went away. Some podcasts.
Yeah.
So
I was actually going to make a note of that but I'm like I can't even remember some of the podcast names that were out there that were kind of dabbling a bit in like. I think one of them dabbled a bit in trading cards / art and things like that. And I can't remember the names. I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I just couldn't remember the names. It's been so long since I've seen even a post.
Yeah. And of course, like we've talked about on numerous, shows, our scheduling. So, I feel like this 1 year, but from the last time I was on this channel, it's been like 5 years because we're both just doing so much that I'm like, the time it gets away from you, but it also seems like you've got so much going on in that span. So I honestly forget a lot of the stuff that I see and do. But we need more content creators, whether it's either just look at sports cards, Pokemon. like all these other avenues of the hobby. And there's so many content creators out there for so many different segments that fit kind of whatever anybody's doing. So for like basketball, you want to talk about, there's a huge craze of 90s basketball. So there's people that just talk about that. There's people that just talk about the investment side. There's people that just talk about their favorite team or their collection that they're actually building. Kind of like what Caleb does. You know, he's showing his cards, he's talking about the cards, but he's also showing off his collection, which then kind of puts it out there that, hey, these cards exist. And then other people will be like, oh, I didn't know that this independent organization had these cards. I want to check it out. So it's not, you know, the content that me and you and anybody else does in the hobby. Like, it's not necessarily to say, hey, I'm right, this is what you should buy and sell. Sure, we can do that. But in my mind, at the end of the day, it's ultimately to just continue to push information out there and just let people do with it what they will.
What other kinds of content would you like to see more of then? Like, I mean, we kind of do our worlds collide, you and I together, where we kind of do across the board a lot of different things. You break down sets, you have guests, I have guests. I mean, Caleb's doing the independent stuff. Like, what else could we possibly see that you would be kind of interesting? Maybe someone might want to pick up that ball and run with it.
I think it just depends on what they're into. And it's what I see in the sports card world and Pokemon. Like, there are people who, like I said, they'll pick a niche and they'll go into it. So, you know, I like David Peck and Rob England, like the OGs of vintage. One thing I would love to see is, and it's not a pump and dump, because yeah, I'm pumping it up because I like it, but I'm not selling all my vintage stuff. I wish more modern collectors, which I love seeing the explosion in modern, but we've talked about it numerous times. I'd love to see kind of people look at the history of wrestling and kind of equate that to trading cards. And even, yeah, okay, the All-Stars, it's my favorite. But there's stuff way before that. I mean, I've talked about before. I've got that Allen and Ginter card I got in an SGC slab, and it's from the 1800s. I mean, we can go back and just start digging up some of this really obscure stuff. There's people that do that in other segments of the hobby. And, you know, I would love for David and Rob, like, could you imagine those two going back and forth in a podcast or a video show? Like, they're not going to do
love
it.
I think people would love that.
It would be great. And, you know, so there's an option. What if people were doing a strictly investment style show, you know, based on, okay, here's what happened on AEW this week, what, you know, and doing like almost a weekly recap based on results of wrestling and how that could actually affect trading cards. I mean, there's just so many, or diving deep into sets. Like taking your checklist site, taking a checklist and literally doing mini documentaries based on the kind of
do that on your channel. I mean, you did some excellent ones on the 95 main event. You did one on Monty Gum. Those are awesome.
Right. But like, I'm saying like they could photo match, like, you know, okay, well, this picture was taken at this event. Here's the significance. Cool. You know, just there's so much, but it's just kind of whatever people are interested in. You know, if I just live, and this has been something that I've had requested for me to do more videos of, is we want to see other people's collections. So I've started trying to get more people on and just talk about their collections. And again, I think ultimately the collector base wants to just see more stuff out there and just continue to learn.
That's interesting. Yes, I've actually kind of been noticing on your channel site too. You haven't like recently. You just had what was her name? Kimberly
Cook. Yeah, Roman Reigns collector.
So talking about her collection like that, I see her a lot over on the Card Foundation podcast Facebook group. She's a big member over there, so like that. So shout out to her, because she's got quite a collection herself. So it's kind of cool to see that.
Yep. You know, lining up. Obviously, Roman Reigns is hot, so people want to know about him. She collects differently than what a lot of people do. And then the stories about why she collects Roman Reigns, how she got the cards, how she was at the event of one of the cards, and I photo matched it. You could see the person that took the picture that got on the card. And then that same picture, Kim is taking the picture of the guy taking the picture from where she was sitting. So it's stuff like that, like when you start, and, you know, I see this in other hobbies, but we just haven't seen this as much in wrestling cards. But, you know, content space is completely open if anybody wants to jump in.
Man, it's been a crazy, it's this last year, a lot of things have really changed. Like when we're talking about right now, it's just unbelievable, really. You know, it's like, you know, even the market a year ago has drastically changed since I last had you on.
Yeah.
I mean, like one of the things I want to ask is, like, you know, how has your approach changed to buying during this time? Is it better? Is it worse? I mean, how are you doing with buying right now?
my whole perspective has just completely changed. I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and that essentially is 82, 83 Wrestling All Stars signed. I have the full set, but now I'm trying to go back and get the set signed. And then PSA is actually affordable now. So well, at least I think it is for a lot of these All-Star cards. So I can get those slabbed. And then of course the Karrion Kross collection, which that's never, like, I don't see that ever stopping. And it's just, Adam Gelman, this is one thing I love about the community. He sent me a DM the other day, and there was a Karrion Kross 101 that popped up. And even though I have my saved searches, I hadn't seen that one yet. So 2 days later, I had it.
Nice.
It's just crazy, it's just crazy how these things happen. So Karrion Kross, 82, 83 All-Stars. And then I just kind of pick up some singles that I find interesting from time to time. Are they singles that are going to stay in my PC forever? Maybe. Are they singles that I may get tired of and decide I need to resell them to go into something else later? Sure.
I remember you sent me a picture, like, you're like, hey, I just picked this one up for such a ridiculously cheap price. It was like a Dusty Rhodes, red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just thought, okay, I've talked about numerous times how many fun color match things you can get with Prizm. So I was like, red, white, and blue, American Dream. I love Dusty Rhodes. It's like $5. Like it just seems like, and I've just been kind of having fun dabbling, but I've completely changed the way I don't even look at, I like to look at markets based on just for knowledge, but I don't buy the dips. I don't buy the peaks. I just buy and I just sell. Like I don't try to time anything. And I just try to keep activity going instead of trying to, okay, I want to target this card because I think it's a good investment. And then sitting on that and waiting instead of doing any of that. Like I'm just buying out collections. And
but weren't you doing that beforehand anyways? Like how's that changed since last time?
I'm doing more of that and less of the big cards.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot more work for about the same amount of money. I know that's a little bit confusing, but there's so much less risk if you're buying thousands of cards for a penny a piece than it is to put in $100 on some slabbed card and hope that it does something. I can definitely say I've lost more money on graded cards from a value perspective than I have, buying a card for a penny and selling it for $5 and doing that 500-600 times. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to ask you also too, like, how's your selling change during this time too, but we're getting into that now. So, I mean,
yeah, the graded cards, and it's just, I can tell you two things. I don't mean to be disparaging, but the wrestling card community, they want everything from nothing.
Oh yeah.
And some of my higher end, like my rock, I had a rock gold finest. I had a guy reach out to me that's like strictly a sports card collector. He's like, hey, I've kind of like to start dabbling in some wrestling cards. I know the rock, I know gold refractors. Here's what I'd give you for that. And it was definitely a fair price. So, it was a 4-figure sale, definitely. So, there are people out there willing to spend money on wrestling cards. And we saw that with Prizm, but like something that's surprising to me is there's still massive amount of set builders out there. And I'm finding that with selling these collections, someone, a lot of my cards, if it's just a common base card, I'll have it priced for $1.50 shipped. Yes, guys, I do make money on that. Trust me. But the thing is, I'll get somebody come in and they'll say, okay, 2021 WWE flagship, they'll buy 15 cards, 20 cards, 30 cards. They get a discount based on, buying in quantity. Mm-hmm. I'm making money off penny cards. But more importantly, I'm like, why are people buying base cards? This means there's set collectors still out there. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't set collect outside of the All-Stars, but it's just something interesting I've noticed that I'm like, okay, well, this is still a thing,
Yeah. I mean, I don't set collect like I used to. I'm a player collector now myself. So I just do, Kurt Angle and still on the Dexter Loomis train. So it's
fun. Like, I know we talked about this so many times, like picking a player and just going for it. It's so much fun.
I'm having a lot of fun. Like I haven't had this much fun collecting in years. And just getting the Loomis cards, they don't cost me an arm and a leg, Mm-hmm. And people are like, you get kind of known for that. Like everybody knows that Zhan's like the cross guy.
Yep.
Everybody knows that. And I'm starting to get that for myself. People are like, oh, Tony, he's a Loomis guy. So people will send me messages going, hey, there's a Loomis card I would love to see in your collection. And, they'll send me a link to something. I go, oh, I didn't even see that. And, I haven't pulled the trigger on certain ones yet, but I'm having fun with the parallels right now. I'm really having a lot of fun. I'm about halfway there with the parallels from Prism.
For Prizm?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. As many as there are. Also, speaking of that, something I get all the time, and I've also completely changed my mind on this, and I'll get your opinion. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but we'll get it out there for the viewers. Is those people are still coming at me saying, "Why are you buying Karrion Kross? Like he's not on TV, he's not in AEW, he's not WWE." And I'm like, well, this isn't sports cards where the guy gets cut from the team or retires and you never see him again. Like this is wrestling. Like Cross could be wrestling into his 70s hypothetically. So, and I don't look at it for, they're like, oh, he's a bad investment. I get that all the time, and I'm like, I don't care. Like I don't plan on selling these.
I'm not buying for investment. What I've been
right.
My new phrase that I came up with a few weeks ago, I've been saying it religiously now. Is that you can't put a ceiling on happiness. And I'm happy.
Absolutely.
I am completely happy with buying what I'm buying, regardless of Loomis being on TV or not. I don't care. I'm into it. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. Why do you care? I mean, I'm not in it for investment purposes.
Yeah, having fun. I mean, I've said that from day one since I started putting out content, is like, you got to have fun doing this. That's the whole point of doing it. And another topic for another day, but that's kind of the stuff on social media that goes on. I'm just like, I don't need any of this. Let's go organize my collection or go sell some stuff. But, going back to the collection and buying and selling collections at a higher volume, that's where I can make money to buy PC stuff or to pay bills or whatever I need to do.
Sure.
And the cross stuff is stuff I'm just flat out having fun with.
Yep. I totally agree. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with the Loomis stuff. A matter of fact, I haven't really picked up any Kurt Angle stuff in quite a long time, only because, that's sort of a retired wrestler that his prices are going to kind of be set where they're at. He's a legend. Dexter Loomis still probably pretty, young in his career, I would, in comparative. And I can just find him more affordable. I mean, it's just more affordable.
Yeah.
I'm having fun just going after, the rainbow of things like that. It's just a cheap, fun way for me to go out there and just kind of hunt things down. So I totally relate to that, to the whole cross things like that. But when we start talking about, this whole hobby as a whole, so I mean, clearly this hobby has evolved, even from the last time that we had Jan.
Yep.
I mean, it's evolved so much. I mean, where do you see this hobby evolving even more? Like by the end of the year, like where are we going to go at the end of this year, 2023, 5 years from now? Like, are we going to start getting more and more eyeballs? You think? Are we kind of do we hit our max, our peak?
I don't think so. I think somebody tweeted out a picture, and we had talked about this at an AEW event, and there were blaster boxes on the merch stands.
That was awesome.
And I'm like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I've seen more, and we can talk about sales and we can talk about numbers and print runs and all that, but when it comes down to it, how many people are actually getting into the hobby and putting their money down, whether it's $30-$40 for a blaster or whether it's $1,000 for a high-end slab, it doesn't really matter. How many people are actually taking their love of professional wrestling and getting into the actual wrestling card hobby? And the sky's the limit, honestly, because think of how many wrestling fans there are out there. And we talk about print runs, and let's put it this way, we've talked about it, Panini's print run on Prizm being through the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
If every wrestling fan out there wanted the base cards of WWE Prizm, there wouldn't be enough, because there's that many professional wrestling fans out there. It's the fact that they haven't come into cards yet, and wrestling cards are still printed lower than sports cards. So, and then that's not even counting the people that we slowly see trickling in from the sports card world that remembers, oh yeah, I grew up watching John Cena, I grew up watching Steve Austin, or even some of the vintage guys that are like super into Hogan and Andre.
Mm-hmm.
And then they see Prizm or Select, they see gold refractors, they see that, or even they see vintage stuff, and they're like, oh well, the sports stuff's kind of boring me. Let me kind of dump something into wrestling that I can truly just enjoy, that's nostalgic for me. So sky's the limit. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we got a huge rush when it came, Upper Deck first with AEW stuff. That brought some new eyeballs to to our hobby. And then of course we had Prizm, which, good, bad, or indifferent, still brought eyeballs to our hobby. I think it's all for a good thing.
Yep.
And obviously divisions were formed, which was expected, I guess, by some. But I think it's kind of smoothed out a little bit, maybe. What do you think? A little bit smoothed out?
Maybe over Prism a little bit, but there's a whole bunch of other dissension on other topics, and I just think it's stupid. But I don't get involved in any of that. Like I'm just here to. I'm not here to say I'm an expert, that I know everything. I'm just here to talk about something I love, and that's wrestling cards, and hopefully help people some way. But I'm with you, like good, bad, and different. Like if you're talking about wrestling cards, it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I did a WTC short, my last one I did, which was just talking about this is what we asked for. This is what we wanted, man. We to quote Roman Reigns, man, we wanted acknowledge me, man.
Acknowledge
That's what
us.
we wanted to be acknowledged. And again, like we said, good, better, and different. We've been acknowledged. People have put there's been more eyes on our hobby. They realize that there's both some fun, there's some money to be made if you're a flipper looking just to invest in it or in flip. So it's to be taken seriously. Like it's just not some stupid, little trading. Your little cards over here. So I've always said, like you and I've talked about many times before, not enough zeros in this hobby, but I think that there's enough zeros in it now for some people going, you know what? I'm not taking a card that I spent $1,000 on and flipping it for $20,000, but I am getting something for $100 and flipping it for $500.
Right.
Although I think your ROI might still be almost equal percentage wise on some of that stuff anyways.
Yeah. And I don't know, like for me, like wrestling, like the flip game, I love doing it with collections. Like I said, when you're, buying mass collections of commons and base and singles and whatever nobody wants. But when I'm actually going out and purchasing something,
clearly they do want it though. I mean, you're getting a sector of people go like, I don't want these, I got my hits or whatever. But you're finding that there's a lot of people out there who like, I do want these singles though, and you're turning a profit on it.
Yeah, I mean, for example, here this is gonna floor you. Okay, brace yourself. Just the other day, somebody came in my store and bought 13 1995 WCW Paul Roma cards. They bought me out. They bought everything I had.
Wow.
So I mean, there is like everything sells on eBay, and there's a market for every wrestler out there. I don't care who it is. Like the lowest of the low wrestling base card, people will come in and buy quantity of those. So that's out there. But when I'm buying something for myself, and the flip, like we talked about the Dusty Rhodes Prism. When I bought those, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay. This is what I feel comfortable paying now. Now, am I going to be able to next week? Can I get X amount for that? Like, I don't even think about that stuff anymore. Like, I just buy stuff that I truly love, and then if I feel like it's kind of outgrown my collection, or I need to just move a bunch of stuff to put money into some big card, then do it that way. So that's kind of that's something else that's really changed from probably a year ago. I didn't really have that perspective as much about a year ago.
Yeah, the buying and selling of our hobby has changed quite a bit over this last year. So none of this stuff really surprised me because I think it always kind of goes in this wave, up and down kind of thing here. So yeah, it's just an interesting time that we're in right now. But I kind of want to go back to content stuff right now.
Sure.
With the last year, so this last year, you and I have been doing our Worlds Collide now for a little over a year now.
Yeah, probably year and a half. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then since the last time that I had you on a WTC episode, how would you feel your approach to putting out content has changed? Are you still keeping the same process? Is it still the same for you?
Yes and no. I mix things up based on like the process of like recording and stuff. It's the same, but then like from a creative perspective, like sometimes I'll do video edits where I'm throwing in video, funny video clips from an actual wrestling match or the Office or a music video, or just to kind of have fun with that on the video perspective. And then as far as like the topics, it's all over the place. Like I have the Wrestling with Cards Patreon group. Sometimes I get requests like, hey, cover this or dive into this. Sometimes I get that on social media. Sometimes I just find something and I really want to talk about it. Now, and I know you know what I'm talking about here, and we've already addressed everybody about this, is time. That's something that definitely has changed. I think it was about a year ago, I decided to scale back to just doing one main video a week and then putting out a second video sometimes, which usually I will be able to get one of our older episodes of Worlds Collide, which is usually like not topical by that time, but people still love it, I guess. I'll put
It's
that.
kind of one of the questions I had written down to ask you about, so like that, but I kind of scrapped it. So you're covering it anyways.
Yeah, like people still like, just the other day we had what's the first indie card that's going to make a 4-figure sale, which I think we had that recently. And I got a lot of people feedback like, hey, I think it's going to be this, or it could be this, or it was this, and it was a private sale kind of thing. And I'm just like, okay, so people still care, even though it's not like the extreme, topical thing, which is what I like about, what we do on Worlds Collide and what we do on my channel. And that's just like going back and picking whatever it is, the Von Erich family board game. I've got so many requests to do like a box opening style video and talking about the game. So I'm going to do that. And it's all over the place as far as like topics, content, stuff like that. But like I said, I had to slow down because I was wanting to do 2 a week. I had all these big elaborate plans, and the eBay store started really taking off, and the numbers as far as like the views and subscribers and all that stuff, it wasn't like bad, but it's not where I was wanting it to be. So I had to put more attention to what makes sense, obviously. Sure. And then of course there was my solo podcast, which at the time of recording, I'm actually kind of bringing back, just because ultimately this content, sure, we want to make money on it at the end of the day. But when I started, I was like, yeah, I could make some money on this, but also this is a creative outlet for me to just kind of talk about wrestling cards. Is something I love, or, give my opinions on things instead of just, wasting my time in arguments on Twitter. Just put it out there in audio or video form, call it good, and let people react how they want. And from the audio side, I know you did this with WTC Shorts. It's something that's fun to just get on there and start talking about an opinion-based thing, where like the video, there's a lot more editing that is involved. And with the audio, I don't have to edit near as much. But that's the whole reason my solo podcast slowed down as well, because there's just so much going on in, regular life and then hobby related stuff.
Yeah, I mean, regular life, I always say life interferes. So I mean, that does limit yourself to, because I don't think any people who don't really do any video editing or video podcasting of any kind, they don't just understand how much is involved in the back end of, editing, cropping it, putting whatever bumper music you want there. You're doing a lot of video edits. You do a lot of splicing and editing like that.
Yeah.
I try to limit myself as much as I can. And that's just the editing part. I've gotten it down to where I can get an episode like this episode, I could probably have it all edited and done within 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. But then the compression of all that stuff to save that file, that's an hour. Then uploading it up to YouTube, so like that's another hour possibly. So it does take time, and I totally get it.
Yeah, and then the title and thumbnail and tags and
all that
stuff.
About that.
And then like it's just so time, and then running social media, I drop the ball big time on that, and I try my best. But again, like if I'm running around doing stuff like, oh, I forgot to tweet this link out, or I forgot. I
always forget that, man. I go, oh, I forgot it was Wednesday. It's like 9 o'clock at night. Going, oh yeah, that thing dropped this morning. I forgot all about it.
I'm so bad at it, but I do what I can. It'd be different if the content was making us full-time living. And obviously we could switch to putting more effort to that. But I mean, we've seen it with, we've talked offline with Top Rope Con, like it's a real life thing. It's still wrestling related and it's still hobby related, but it's also got in the way of like content producing. So it just got in the way of
a lot of things in my life. I mean, it's even WTC as a whole has suffered for me, putting on my show. And it's just, that's the more important thing right now for me, because that's what's going to pay bills. That's what's going to, take, it takes a lot more effort for me to do all that. And then, I start feeling bad about WTC stuff, but thank God for someone like Chuckster. I mean, he's like the voice of reason for me. I mean, I bounce so many things
for the hobby overall.
He really is.
Yeah,
I mean, he really is. And, he got a lot of love the other day. We did, it was a live one, but it's been repurposed. It'll be out in a couple of weeks. We did a live 1-year anniversary of, relaunching the site. And people jumped in, and everybody who jumped in on that live broadcast was like, wanted to give love to Chuckster, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
he deserves all that love. And but he's my voice of reason sometimes. I was like, dude, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get so stressed out. Like, you had 7 years of stuff to catch up on, and we did it. And so if you're missing like a month's worth, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like, we brought it up to a point where now it's expected, like, hey, we need to have this stuff up. So there's a lot of stress involved in all these different things and putting out content, on a weekly basis. I struggle every single week going, God, I don't have anything in the can for 2 weeks from now or next week, kind of thing. And I get nervous about it. Like, I got to find something, so some weeks maybe I'll have something, some weeks I won't, because other things just get in the way, man. So, with your show, do you like doing more interviews now? Do you like doing solo stuff? Which one do you prefer the most?
I like doing the interviews more than anything because I like picking the brains of other people within the hobby, even if it's not within our little circle, so to speak. When I started 2022, I said, okay, this is going to be the year I'm going to start reaching out to people who are outside the wrestling card bubble and, picking their brain about how they're successful in their field and how that could translate to wrestling. Some of them are wrestling card collectors as well, so they're able to talk about kind of the bridge between the two. And then some of them were just like straight up sports card collectors, and they knew a little bit about actual wrestling, but not wrestling cards. So it's been fun to get that perspective and then put it out for the people that are on my channel watching all the videos. And it's, I've got a lot of other people that I've reached out to and just haven't heard back, but I had a whole bunch of cool interviews lined up and most of them have canceled or, we just can't, again, time, trying to get things organized for time.
For you especially, you have jobs that really take a lot of your time and your schedule kind of all over the place. So it's like, people really got to kind of fit into your schedule. So when we do these episodes, whether it be for me or for Worlds Collide, and we kind of go around your schedule more than mine, only because, you've got a job that kind of rotates your hours a lot, it seems like. So,
yeah.
We try to do what we can. So I'm actually pretty impressed on what we get done when we do get it done.
Yeah, it's I'm a pretty driven, motivated person. And, I want to go back to what you said a minute ago about like, people start expecting the content, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I enjoy doing it. I'm, eventually I'll, I'm getting paid through Patreon, obviously. So thank you guys. Thanks all the patrons for sending me money through that to keep the shows going and buying equipment and lights and computer to edit and stuff like that. But I've kind of gotten to the point where I just put it out. It's like a band, they put it out and they're on to the next thing. And, here it is out for the public. And if they enjoy it, fine. If they don't, fine. And you just keep it going. Like I said earlier, it's a fun creative outlet. And kind of like you, like I think I've tried, no offense, but I think I've tried to be more consistent on a weekly basis, but I plan way out ahead of time. And I'm just like,
no, I wish, I wish I had that schedule. I wish I had that chart like you do. So like that, like it's impressive that you get what you get done. And even for our show notes for Worlds Collide, you set everything up. I just got to plug it all in, my stuff. I don't do stuff like that. I had a list of questions for you today. So like that for talking to Dan, I literally, pumped these out like an hour ago.
and there's some people who do produce content that don't have any notes. And those people are I'm super impressed with them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times my notes for most of the stuff we end up doing consist of this much. It's pretty much nothing. I just I wing it as much as I can, just because I don't do a lot of homework on that kind of stuff. And I did that in school, man. I used to do that in school and I was still a very good student. I just, you read it, I retain it right away. I regurgitated it right away for your test and move on to the next thing. Yep. And, it's just, I also don't have a lot of time. Again, it's all about time. Time is the undisputed champion. Is time. It's just so that leads me to like, do you think you're going to continue to keep doing this? Like, I have to ask myself this: how long am I going to plan on doing WTC TV stuff? How long will I do shorts? How long are we going to do Worlds Collide? Do you think we're going to have an end to it eventually? Like a year from now, 2 years from now? Are we getting bored with it yet?
Bored? No, not at all. Like
not at all.
I have yet to get bored with any content creation. The only, okay, we're kind of rounding up everything that we've talked about here, and it's time and money. Those are two things that kind of, come into factor with anybody's life, no matter what they're doing. So I'm going to keep wanting to talk about wrestling cards because nobody's doing it. That is the ultimate drive for me.
But we do now, because when you started, there was nobody doing it. I wasn't even doing it yet.
But there's still not enough. Like if me and you were to just stop what we're doing today, we're going to have a few people carrying on the flag, but not to the extent that I think like I'm going to keep doing this until I can't. So it's going to be really a factor of time, because we're already not getting paid a lot to do this. And eventually, if we keep working at it, like, you can monetize the YouTube channel, you can get more ads on the podcast, stuff like that. That's all great. But my drive that just keeps me going is just to continually get more information out there about wrestling cards. And as I've said, it's a fun creative outlet. So until I literally don't have the time to do it or can't shoehorn it into my schedule, that will be the day I quit. As far as Worlds Collide, it's the same kind of thing. Like, if you message me or I message you one day and we're like, don't really have time to commit to even recording once or twice a month on this now, then that's it. That's the end of the road. But as far as my solo stuff, I'm just going to keep going as long as I can.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same boat. I'll just keep going as long as I can, as long as people want to listen or see it, and as long as my wife allows me.
Yep. That's another big factor.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that
Nope.
we're not just grown men living in our parents' basement. We actually have lives that some of us are married with kids. We have pets, we have family, we have things we got to go do. So there's a lot of factors that go into creating this content beyond just knowledge and research and putting things out there that we want to get off our chest or to educate people. I mean, that's what WTC was created for. WTC was created to originally archive a collection. That collection served as a purpose to educate people, to help them find what they needed or identify what they had. And it's just continuously trying to educate people and help them. And you had mentioned earlier about social media and staying off of social media a lot, that you're not using as much as you used to. What are your thoughts on how social media plays in this hobby right now?
It's a huge driving factor for the actual hobby itself. People love hobby drama. They love, I mean, it's a media thing. Like, if you put something about the, Special Olympics person winning a gold medal, they're gonna be like, oh, that's nice. But then if you talk about like a shooting or a car chase or house on fire, something like that, people are gonna be like, oh, what's this all about? It's this mental thing that people love, the negativity, and that just keeps going in social media. Now, I'm not against negativity, because I think there are times when people need to be put in their place. Businesses,
Sure.
licensees, people like that need to be called out on the stuff they're doing wrong, or they need to hear opinions from people who are in the know, buying their products, etc. And I'm in the boat that, like, us as a hobby, we don't all have to get along. Like, I don't feel like I need to be friends with everybody in the hobby. Just kind of like, I don't feel like everybody needs to be a fan of my content. Like, if you love it, that's awesome, and I appreciate it. But if it's not for you, like, maybe Card Foundation, or maybe somebody else out there, maybe your show, like somebody likes you guys and not mine, like, hey, that's fine. Like, I'm just out here doing this stuff to continue to push wrestling cards. I would not even be on social media. In fact, I kind of completely got off of it for a while before I started doing content, because I was like, okay, if you're going to do content, like free marketing, that's social media, and you got to get the word out there about the content. And then all of a sudden I see, okay, well, within social media, there's also core group of collectors, and that's been fun to kind of go back and forth on. But then it's like time again, like, I've got to take pictures of thousands of cards, then I have to list them, then I've got to edit videos, then I have to do a regular job, then I've got to go to the post, like, trying to fit in even social media within all of that. So
that's a full-time gig, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why a lot of like big time podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff like that, they're able to make it a full-time job based on, they can run their own social media, they can hire a team to do social media.
Yep.
And that's not where we're at. Like, we're still at the grassroots level of this stuff. So it's kind of been a perfect storm of like not having the time to do social media, while also at the same time as all of this wrestling, he said, she said, I'm going to block you, nonsense. All that stuff kind of came together for me at the same time. I honestly got to say, I'm still having the most fun I've ever had in the hobby, period. Like, that I can get, disagree, agree, I can laugh, I can have fun. Like, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I kind of, I'm having a lot of fun. More, like I told at the beginning, I'm having more fun than I've ever had before in collecting. It's been years since I've had this kind of fun. So when I start seeing the negative stuff on social media, yeah, I see it. But as I've always said before for WTC, got to play Switzerland, man. I can't be involved in that kind of stuff. Building a brand here kind of thing. I can't be involved in that, but it's not deterring me from having my fun, because my
Right.
fun is so great right now that even the negativity that I do experience isn't really affecting my fun. So
Yeah.
I'm just having a lot of good time with it like that. But didn't really want to get into the divisions and stuff like that, because we've talked to that about that to death on many different types of shows. But how do you feel about social media being used right now to create sales? We kind of touched on it a little bit. You know, I don't see you on there really participating in any like weekly threads where they're, you know, promoting buy, selling, and trades like that. I mean, thoughts on the market and expectations versus value kind of thing. I mean, we've talked about this before off air. You know, it seems to me it's always I want to sell you a card for $100, but I don't want to pay you. I only want to pay you 25 for it though.
That's 100. It's 100% what it is. So when,
I mean, that's always been the case. It's always been the,
yeah,
you know, buy low, sell high kind of mentalities like that. But it just seems to be like really, really cutthroat right now, especially on social media.
yeah. And this is a topic unto itself. Like, first off, shout out Mike the Cleaner for running the Monday thread
I
every
love
single
it.
week.
He does a great job. I love it.
I think I bought out of every single Monday he's done that. I think I bought 2 items, which I don't remember who I bought them from, but I had, you know, like smooth transactions, no shady stuff, cards in great condition. But yeah, I share everybody's stuff in the thread. If I see a cool card, I'm like, oh, somebody's looking for this. Somebody might want this. I got
to get better at. I like them, but I never share them. I need to get better at that. I mean, you know, Mike runs a good one for the wrestling one. There's another guy named Tyler who runs one for wrestling as well.
Is it non-sport? The wrestling and non-sport?
He does non-sports as well too, which I love that as well. But some great threads out there. But I engage in there all the time, and I'm always checking values on stuff I want to put up, and I either try to be at market or just below it. And I almost never get anybody buying anything.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with eBay, honestly. Like, and that's why I've taken a hit on like a lot of my graded cards. It doesn't matter. And this is another misconception, is that, well, if it's not PSA, nobody wants it. And that's not true, because I'm even having trouble selling a lot of PSA slabs. And, you know, a lot of stuff I'll start off high, but I'm like, okay, I'm completely open to offers and negotiate. And I'm of the mindset, and this is, I think, where people are kind of running into problems. Well, I guess it depends on your perspective, and I'll talk about that. If I need to move something, I know what I have in it. And if I make whatever it is, whether it's, you know, 5% or 500%, I'll move it for whatever someone's willing to pay. And I think that's something that people forget, that the value is what someone's willing to pay, not what comps say. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's willing to pay way over comps or way under comps, it's the fact that that person's in front of you willing to give you money right then for that item, and you can take it or leave it. And, you know, there's a lot of different opinions. Mine is to just keep things moving, whether you're going to take a loss on the card or whether you're going to make a lot of money. Like, just take it and move it into something else. Go buy a PC card or buy another blaster to rip, like whatever it is you do. And then there's also the people that I'm thinking maybe they price things at certain aspects to try to recoup the cost of the box. Mm-hmm. And at that point, most of that stuff is like lower end stuff, like low end relics or autos. And they're like, okay, well, I want $40 for this. And I'm like, I sell those all day on eBay, and people barely pay $5 for them shipped. So, you know, people just don't understand, because they're not involved in the market enough, mm-hmm. whether it's just looking up buying and selling stuff on eBay, you know, talking to community members and stuff like that. So that's why I don't participate, because I'm with you. Like, I've put a lot of stuff out there, and people are just like, sometimes I don't even get a like or a retweet or anything.
Same.
And, you know, then you'll go after, like, okay, what's popular? Gold refractors. Okay, so let's put some gold refractors out there, and you just still won't get a lot of traction. But nope. Maybe that's just us. I don't know. But I hope the threads keep going, because it's a great thing for the community.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, you get people are kind of showcasing what they have in their hands like that. So I got to get better at that and start retweeting stuff like us. Maybe a retweet for me will help someone, you know, who didn't see it before, get something in their PC. I don't know.
That's exactly why I do it, because just today, Uncle Danny was saying, like, hey, I'm looking for Macho and Miss Elizabeth dual autos. Well, one retweet could lead him to that card. Like, you never know where these things are going to go. So again, it's okay. Going back to the beginning, I want paid, and I want to, you know, it'd be nice to make a living out of this stuff. But ultimately, whether it's social media, sending a retweet, whether it's putting a podcast out, doing a video, ultimately it's getting wrestling cards to the forefront and just growing the collector base is my goal.
Yeah, you and I agree on that a lot all the time. We talked about it to death, man, about growing this hobby more and more. So, um, I gotta point out something here though too. We can wrap up here. So, you're sporting a new endeavor there for yourself there. I see that. For those who
Yeah.
are actually seeing this, not listening to it, got yourself a new T-shirt there, buddy.
First t-shirt, and I had to do something completely different. One thing I've always loved is kind of what's the edgy designs, I guess. I've always loved band t-shirts, and I've always loved, like, I loved ECW's style of shirts, and XPW had some, they didn't have a lot of shirts, but they had some shirts that always had like edgy slogans on it or cool pictures, stuff like that. So I was like, I want to do a wrestling shirt and make it limited, but I want to like kind of put my own twist on it. And I have to thank Cage Graphics for this. You can find him on Twitter. I got that from him, and running it through another awesome guy to get them printed. I think I've sold about half of them currently. We're only going to do 19 of these printed. So
why 19?
Well, the logo is a little bit of a homage to the Dark Throne logo. Some may say I completely ripped it off, but they have 19 albums out. So that's why I went with that, because everything I'm doing from a design, it's wrestling, but it's also going to have a music kind of tie-in with it, because that's like my second favorite passion. That
Which I love.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about it, and I'm sure most people, if they do check me out on social media, like, I share a lot of music stuff. So yeah, it's fun to do. And again, like when I made these, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I make enough money to like pay the printer, give them a tip, and make sure I can ship this to Canada or Timbuktu or wherever I'm going to ship it. Sure. I don't care so much about making money. It was just like, hey, I want to put out a product that would be fun and a cool, again, creative thing to do a design like this and tie it in with music and just get the word out once again about wrestling cards.
Well, I already reserved my copy.
Yep.
So can't wait to get it. I mean, is this a one and done for you? You gonna do more?
It's just like what we do with content. It depends on the demand. If people, if I'm setting on the second half of, because this is like a print to order thing. I'm getting everybody's orders, and this is like total punk rock DIY style. I'm getting everybody's orders, putting it on a list, submitting the list to the distributor, and having them actually ship it out from the company. So it depends on the demand. Like if I'm going to sit on half the orders for another 6 months, then okay, well, maybe nobody likes the design. Maybe nobody wants to buy t-shirts. I don't know. But if there's demand for it, I've already got like 2 or 3 other ideas for some cool designs I could do that are, again, music and wrestling related, that I think they're better than this one. So we'll see what happens.
We'll have to talk off air, because people have been asking me about a second shirt tag card.
Yeah, that's such a cool idea.
As you know, you've seen, you're one of the few people that actually saw the
got one right over there.
But you saw the design for the second one, and
yes.
Unfortunately, it fell through, and we all know the story about that. So,
right.
But maybe I will use your guy as well to make a shirt for as well. Who knows? But what else you got? What people can look forward to from Zhan for the rest of this year into 2023?
Just continuing to put out content. That I'm not going to change. Like one video a week. I did, and it's going to be varying topics. You can always count on a market watch video where I'm not going to do what you and Paul do. You guys do, like, I think you guys do a phenomenal job, way better than I do. But we're also doing, this is kind of what I was talking about with content. Like, we're doing 2 different things. Like, I'm going back and I'm grabbing oddball stuff or stuff you don't see, or stuff that I can take and apply like a teaching moment. Like, for example, we just talked about the pricing structure. And for my, I don't know when this is going to come out, but for my May 2022 video, I found a really inexpensive autograph card that sold for like $3 or $4. Why did I pick that? It's because I want to take that and I want to teach everybody watching, hey, learn to price your cards. This is what they sell for. This is what they don't. So it's looking at the wrestling card market, but in a different way. So I do one of those every month. I try to do 1 to 2 interviews a month because people seem to enjoy those, and those are easy for me on the editing side. And then, of course, I'll throw in random oddballs like, Tony, did you know? I bet you didn't. The 1982-83 Wrestling All-Stars, did you know some of those guys are actually hip-hop pioneers?
Really? Did not know that.
You're going to find out in one of my videos. That's the kind of random stuff that you're going to find on my channel. And then going back to the podcast, like, we've talked off air about why I stopped and some stuff with Anchor, but I just kept like, I kept kind of fiending to talk about things. Like I'd see something on social media and be like, I don't want to tweet back at that, but I kind of want to talk about it.
Oh, you and me both.
So I could use a pot, like that's why I loved your WTC shorts. Like I never knew what was going to be coming at me. And that kind of format is kind of what I want to do with my podcasts again, and just keep doing it. You know, if one person's listening or 1,000 people are listening, I just want to start doing it again. So that's something that I can't commit based on time to doing it every single week, but maybe bi-weekly or a minimum of one a month, something like that. So videos, podcasts, hopefully I can start getting better on TikTok, which that's a social media thing. Like just if I'm going to post a picture on Instagram and Twitter and somewhere else, like I got to carve out like 15 minutes just to do that if I'm going to do it properly with the tags and, you know, write a description about why this is important and all that stuff. So I think it's something that's underestimated by many people, but I want to try to get better at the social media this year. And, you know, the eBay store has just exploded. Like it is a full-time job at this point, both from a monetary perspective and a time perspective. And, you know, from a monetary perspective, I'm just dumping it back into the hobby, like a little bit of PC stuff, but then also just buying more collections. And it's fun to see like where these cards end up. I've actually sold cards to some wrestlers that I only know it was them because I know their non-gimmick name.
Gotcha.
And they would buy them in quantity. And I'm like, I know what they're doing. They're going to have these at the gimmick table.
Gimmick tables right there. Yeah.
So the fact that I can supply that to them, that's kind of just an extra fun thing. Or I've had messages from people and, you know, it's a card as little as $1.50. They're like, hey, this is my first wrestling card. I saw your YouTube channel and I want to get involved. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
That's fantastic. You know, I've had people message me and they're like, hey, I've been looking for this card for 5 years and thanks for giving me a, you know, heck of a deal on it kind of thing. So, eBay, videos, podcasts, that's kind of the main things. And then just kind of whatever I can fit in around that.
Well, let's close it out with that. How can people find all these different avenues for you?
The biggest thing you can do, Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. Please subscribe to that. I'm closing in on 1,000 subs. So, you know, because once, if I get to that 1,000, it's like climbing the mountaintop. I'm not going down the other end. I'm just going to keep going. Like we'll just keep going into the moon. Didn't mean to tie that to the moon in there. I don't know that the channel is going to the moon, but
to the moon, baby.
Yeah, Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. Please subscribe. Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, all popular podcast platforms. Of course, Worlds Collide, which is definitely more of a consistent basis than anything that me or you are doing on a solo audio experience.
100%.
Social media, again, I'm going to get better at that. I am involved and I respond to direct messages all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you're not complete. You're not invisible. Just that, you know, I've noticed that over the last, I'd probably say 5-6 months.
Yep.
You've been lighter.
Yep. Yeah.
And knowing that, you know, our text, I mean, even our text messages back and forth is kind of diminished a little bit. It wasn't as much as it used to be. And I think it's just because of, you know, how busy you are, how busy I am. And these things kind of like, they have to have a place, you know.
100%.
And it's like, I don't go like, God, is he mad at me? We don't talk. Like, you know, I'm busy, you're busy. I totally get it.
I was answering, like, this was like late last year, but I was in the middle of Disney World and I'm like, got direct messages and trade offers that people are like messaging me. And I'm like, I will message them as soon as I get back, but I'm like getting ready to get on a ride here. So like, you know, that like, I know that's a random example, but like, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Like I'll be getting into my car and I get a direct message about a video comment or something that I'm like, okay, I'll get to that when I get stopped driving kind of thing. So, but yeah, I'm available on pretty much all social platforms. You name it, I'm there. And yeah, please give me a follow. And, you know, hopefully you guys will just continue to support content creators, whether it's Tony, myself, Caleb, Wax Packs Man, Collect WrestlePalooza, Card Foundation, the ones that are out there that disappeared. We need them to come back. Just continue to support wrestling cards and wrestling card content.
Which I had other questions, but I'll save for another time. So like that. But
part two, maybe we can do it again where it's not a year.
Yeah, let's just try not to keep it a year, man. It's been a long time. I mean, I know that people expect to hear us on the Worlds Collide like that, but having each other on our individuals like that, it's been kind of far and few between.
Yep, absolutely. Happy to do it anytime though.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, man. I really do appreciate it. So people, you like everything else here on this channel, like every other channel, man, just make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all those wonderful things, and just give us a follow, man. Subscribe. That's all I keep asking. It's so simple and easy to do. Just click on that. Boom. I don't even ask you to hit the notification button. I don't even
Nope,
care about
just
that.
subscribe.
Just subscribe.
Yep.
I'm noticing more comments, so I'm kind of feeling good about that. But then again, if I've only got one comment from someone, that's all that really matters to me. As long as we're learning something, and you're getting into the hobby for the first time, please check out Zhan's stuff. Please check out Worlds Collide. Please check out Card Foundation. Check out all the content out there, man. And that's basically all I got to say about that.
Yep. We need. I'll close with it. I don't want to close your own show, so you can close it. But the last things I have to say is we need more wrestling card content out there. Pick a lane, go for it. Just grab your phone, start recording, do whatever it is. Don't worry about if it's bad or if it's like it. We all suck. I know some of us still suck as we're doing these things. I never claim to be an expert on anything either. But just start talking about something you're passionate about, and hopefully, ultimately, just expand the hobby. And then the last thing I'll say, and you can close it: keep collecting and keep having fun. But at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
That's exactly right, man. Exactly what I would say. Just keep having fun.
Absolutely.
I say we're out.
See ya.